You ever have that one neighbor who seems to think your life exists just to annoy them? Yeah, meet Karen. It was a calm evening. I just finished hanging my new LED strip lights along the edge of my house. Nothing wild, just a few bright colors for the weekend. They looked amazing. The kind of glow that makes your house pop a little when you pull into the driveway. But apparently, to Karen, it was the end of the world. I hadn't even finished testing the colors when I heard it. Bang! 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 On my door. I opened it to find her standing there, arms crossed, lips pursed, eyes locked like she was about to issue a court order. Your lights, she said, her voice dripping with disapproval. They're offensive. I blinked. Offensive? They're just blue and purple. They're too bright. My cat can't sleep. My husband says he can see them through his eyelids. I almost laughed, but her face told me she wasn't joking. She demanded I take them down immediately, or she'd call the homeowners association. Now, I'm not the type who likes confrontation. Normally, I'd just tone things down and move on. But something about her tone, the way she spoke like she owned the entire street, made me decide one thing. This wasn't over. That night, I stood on my porch, staring at the lights glowing softly against the siding. They weren't even that bright, but if they bothered her this much, well, maybe it was time she saw what bright really looked like. So I started planning. I spent the next 2 days researching programmable LED systems, ones that could dance, strobe, pulse, even sync with music. I watched tutorials, ordered extra equipment, and when the packages arrived, I got to work. Wire by wire, bulb by bulb, I turned my simple lighting setup into something truly spectacular. The kind of thing you'd expect at a stadium concert or a New Year's fireworks show. And as I stood there, testing the lights in broad daylight, I couldn't help but smile. Because once the sun went down, Karen was about to get a show she'd never forget. The next evening arrived faster than I expected. It was a Saturday night, calm and quiet, the kind of silence that makes every little sound echo. Perfect. By 8 p.m., I'd finished syncing my new lighting system. The control app on my phone showed dozens of color patterns, from soft fades to wild bursts. I named my favorite one Operation Karen. At 8:30 sharp, I stepped outside. My porch light was the only thing glowing faintly. The rest of the neighborhood was wrapped in darkness. Every house asleep, or getting there. I took a deep breath, opened the app, and pressed play. Instantly, boom, my house exploded into color. Neon waves of red, blue, green, and purple raced across the siding like lightning. The driveway lit up like a runway. Music pulsed through the Bluetooth speakers. Queen's Don't Stop Me Now, and the lights danced to the beat. I stood there grinning like a maniac. It looked incredible. My whole front yard looked like a mini Las Vegas. Within seconds, my phone started buzzing. Texts from neighbors. Some laughing, some confused. But then came the one I'd been waiting for. Karen, turn them off. I chuckled and replied, enjoy the show. That's when I heard it, the furious slamming of a door. Karen stormed out of her house in her robe, holding her phone like it was a weapon. Are you insane? She shouted over the music. It's 10 o'clock at night, I shouted back. Actually, it's 8:30. She stomped closer, red-faced. You're disturbing the peace. I grinned. You wanted the lights gone, so I thought I'd make it worth your complaint. Behind her, I noticed a few other neighbors peeking from their windows. Some recording, some laughing. It was chaos, but the fun kind. Karen tried to out-yell the music, waving her arms as if she could swat the colors out of the air. The lights pulsed faster, brighter, syncing perfectly with her anger. Every stomp she made was echoed by a flash of white. Finally, she screamed, I'm calling the HOA, and stormed back inside. I didn't stop the show. I let it play for another 20 minutes, long enough for half the street to come outside, some even clapping along. And as the lights faded to a soft, calm glow, I looked around at the smiling faces and thought, maybe this wasn't just payback. Maybe it was the best neighborhood entertainment we'd ever had. The next morning, I woke up to what felt like a full-blown investigation outside my house. 2 HOA board members were standing at the end of my driveway, clipboards in hand, whispering to each other like FBI agents. And behind them, Karen, arms folded, sunglasses on, with the kind of smug smile that screams, I won. I opened my door, still half asleep, holding a cup of coffee. Morning, I said, pretending not to notice the tension. Sir, one of the board members started. We received multiple complaints about a light display last night. I nodded. Yeah, beautiful, wasn't it? Karen scoffed so loudly you'd think she'd swallowed a horn. It was blinding. My cat didn't sleep all night, and my husband says he's still seeing colors when he blinks. I tried not to laugh. Well, I can tone it down if it's that big a deal. The HOA rep cleared his throat. Our guidelines specify that decorative lighting should be reasonable and not disrupt the neighborhood's peace. That word, reasonable, hung in the air. It was vague. and vague meant I had options, so I smiled politely. Of course, I'll make sure my next show is more reasonable. Karen's grin faltered. Next show? Oh yeah, I said casually, sipping my coffee. Halloween's coming up. I was thinking a full theme. Music, motion lights, maybe even a fog machine. Her face went pale. You wouldn't dare. I'd never dare, I said innocently. I'd prepare. The HOA reps left, mumbling something about reviewing policies. Karen stormed off, muttering under her breath about troublemakers. But now I had a mission. For the next 2 weeks, I became an engineer of chaos. I designed a synchronized light and sound show that could rival Disneyland, complete with lightning flashes, creepy whispers, and glowing pumpkins that lip-synced to Thriller. The neighborhood buzzed with excitement. Kids stopped by asking when the big show would start. Even the mailman asked for a preview. But Karen? Oh, she watched every second of my preparation from behind her curtains, arms crossed tighter every day. I could practically feel her stress rising with each new wire I strung up. By October 31st, everything was ready. Speakers hidden, lights programmed, timers set. When the sun went down and the first sound of thunder rumbled through my speakers, I smiled. Because tonight wasn't just about lights anymore. It was about sending a message. The air was crisp, pumpkins flickered on porches, and the street buzzed with excited kids in costumes. But everyone knew, the real attraction wasn't the candy. It was my house. By 7 p.m., the crowd had gathered. Families lined the sidewalk, phones out, ready to record. Even people from the next street over had shown up after hearing about the Light Guy's show. I stood behind my fence, remote in hand, watching the crowd grow. And across the street, there she was, Karen. Arms crossed, lips tight, standing on her lawn like a queen guarding her kingdom. I smiled and whispered, "Showtime." The music started low, a slow, haunting beat. The house lights dimmed, then flickered to life in eerie shades of orange and purple. The fog machines hissed, spilling mist across the lawn. "Ah," Kid gasped as glowing skeletons lit up to the rhythm of Michael Jackson's Thriller. The crowd went crazy. The lights pulsed, shifted, and danced perfectly in sync with every beat. Thunder rumbled, lightning strobed across the roofline, and ghostly projections floated on the fog. It wasn't just a light show. It was a full performance. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. The finale. The beat stopped. The whole street fell silent. Every light turned off for a split second. Total darkness. And then, boom, the entire house burst into golden light, glittering like fireworks, as the word Happy Halloween flashed across the siding in giant glowing letters. Kids screamed in excitement. Parents cheered and someone shouted, "This is insane!" Everyone loved it, except of course for Karen. Her porch light flicked on. She stepped forward, waving her arms. "This is outrageous! You're breaking every rule in the HOA book," she yelled over the cheers. But this time, no one listened. In fact, a few people actually booed her. And that's when something unexpected happened. The HOA president himself walked up to me, clapping. "I'll be honest," he said. "I came here to tell you to shut it down. But this is incredible." Karen's jaw dropped. The president continued. "As long as it's done by 10, you're good. Honestly, you've brought the neighborhood together." The crowd applauded again. Even I was shocked. Karen, defeated, turned and walked back inside without another word. Her porch light went off. I looked back at my house, glowing softly in the night, and couldn't help but laugh. Karen wanted darkness. Instead, she got a show she and the whole neighborhood would remember forever. If you enjoyed this crazy story, make sure to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more wild neighborhood drama stories just like this one.